Hey, what's up, Blazer fans? Welcome to We Have a Take the What podcast. I am Tara Bowen Biggs, and I am joined as always by Rose Harding. Hello, Rose.
Hello, Tara. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I am wearing the t-shirt that we got on opening night. And for people who are not watching us on YouTube, by the way, we're on YouTube, I will describe it as it is red. And it was so exciting this year to get a red t-shirt from the Trailblazers. And then it just says Rip City underneath it. But it's really cool. And I'm very excited that they leaned into red because last year's t-shirt, I think, did not get worn beyond like opening night.
I don't even remember what last year's t-shirt was. I didn't really see it in anyone's rotation.
That's because it was like kind of, I mean, I'm sure the design was cute. It was like, it was like a little circle and it said Rip City and it had like a rose on it. But it was like this heather white with like, but it really ended up looking like white with a bunch of black spots all over it, like somebody drove by you and splashed you with a mud puddle. So that's probably why you don't see a lot of them out.
I see. You know what I was thinking about actually just this week? I was so you know how it's election time. Everyone's voting, and good for you. If you haven't voted, please go out and vote before it's too late. Your ballot is in the mail, I'm sure. Just do it. Anyway, I was thinking about this the other day because I got my like virtual I voted sticker from the state of Oregon, which has been the same terrible design for years. They always text it to me, and I'm like, cool, there's nothing to do with this. I was thinking if I were the Blazers, I would get a ballot drop box installed in Moda and let and hand out their own I voted sticker to people who bring their ballots to the game and drop them off there. That's what I would do.
That's a great idea. I know that they're very active in the trying to get out the vote. I'm just like, isn't there one there? But no, it wasn't there. I was passing by, it was Dishman Community Center, which is in that neighborhood. But yeah, have a ballot drop box there. Sure, that's a
That
great
and
idea.
That's what I would do. And like now,
Mhm.
I think that we're in the process of buying that arena. I
Hmm.
think isn't the city in the process of buying that arena. So like it would be a great time for them to install a Dropbox there, and then the Blazers could do really cool like custom I voted stickers that I'm sorry, I would take my ballot there to get that because I would love a real I'm voted sticker because my whole life I've been voting by mail and I'm getting this terrible JPEG from the state telling me that I voted that hasn't changed. And the Blazers could do a different one every year. Just saying.
Hmm.
Free idea out there, Trailblazers. You should get that Dropbox installed and you should give out your own custom I voted sticker.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think that yeah, well, I'm sure all the Blazers who are listening will be excited to take that idea.
That's right. All of you, don't all run to like the GM's office at once. Make it orderly, but it's a good request.
Okay, so we're actually in the season now. We're 2 games under our belt. It's Sunday morning. We're about to have 3 games under our belt by the end of the night, by the time this thing comes out. But the season is forging ahead. I'm curious from you, like high and low. What have you experienced so far? Because I feel like it's really already been a roller coaster.
So I'll say for me, the high was the first half of game two. Was that right?
Game two?
Was it game two? I'm trying to think about yeah, right? The first half of game two.
Well, I mean, the first quarter and a couple minutes of game one were fun. And then, yeah, the first half of game two, I mean, pretty much all of game two, I thought was pretty fun, except to the end.
Yeah, the first half of game two and the sec was my high probably because also I think of the Pelicans as like not like I don't know. I think of them as like they're a team that's trying to contend. I don't know if they're going to contend, but I think that's a team that's trying to contend. I don't know if the Warriors really are. They're like,
Oh,
whatever.
first of all, they always think
They
that they're
always think they
contending.
are, but they got like two guys on there from their championship team and then like maybe three. And then they got a bunch of guys that like, whatever. Um anyway, first half of game two of the Pelicans game felt really, really fun for me. And the low is the second half of game one. Second half of game one was the low for me.
Yeah, that was rough. And it was just so awful that it was that team. It just made me sick that that was the team that the Blazers started off playing, that it was the Golden Warriors. Like I have so many negative feelings against that team that it like kind of freaks me out. And I feel like I should probably deal with that. And I was not ready to come right out the gate and to have to self-regulate, like looking at Gary Payton. Oh,
No. Also, I'll say the lowest of the low. So generally, my low was the second half of game one. The lowest of the low, meaning the moment where I felt the worst, was specifically when I saw Draymond Green check out in the third quarter and Terry Stotts high five him.
oh,
I was like, "Are you trying to kill my soul? My soul is dying right now. Why have you like it's like watching like your toxic ex and your ex that you still love, but it just didn't work out because timing wasn't right. Get together.
yeah. And they're suddenly in alignment and it's like, ugh.
And now they're in love, and I'm
Mhm.
like, oh no, you don't need that. Like, get away from that toxic ex of mine. Let me tell you a thing or two about him. He is not good, and he might kick you in the balls when you leave.
And not have any regrets. I the good thing about being in the arena is you don't notice that stuff if you don't want to. Like I was not watching
Oh,
after, we all applauded for Terry Stotts and we saw the tribute video, then I like didn't look over there again. And so I avoided having to see Terry Stotts. It sounds like they actually showed that on TV, which is like, thanks a lot, Blazer Broadcasting.
oh, they watched Draymond check out, and the first guy he high fives when he gets back to his bench is Terry Stotts, and I was like,
Ugh.
Terry, I'm so disappointed. I mean, I still love you, but like, good people make bad decisions, but geez,
Yeah.
here in this arena,
Hmm.
like, no.
Yeah, they just they really that team really enjoys just making it worse. And my low point of the week was the next day when they got an extra point, when they got a point given
Oh
back
my
to them.
God. Who
That was just
complained about that?
that was like, okay, already it was, a bad loss, which again, we knew what this season was going to be like. We knew that the Blazers weren't going to win. We were hoping they were going to be competitive losses, which thank God game 2 happened. But, we knew they were going to lose. We knew that we were going to play this team that always just has like feels like a little special, like, to get us. And then to have that, because it like also it made it like look like, our scorekeeper, I don't want to throw them under the bus, but by implications, they missed a score. And so that had to be out there in public. And oh, by the way, we're giving them one more point. And I was just like, that was the worst. That was the absolute worst. And then the highlight. So I tweeted about this. I thought the highlight of the week was going to be the guy who on the Jumbotron picked him up on the Jumbotron and he chugged a whole pint of beer and like the crowd went crazy because we were so excited. It was like,
But
yeah, something to cheer for. So I thought he was going to be the high point, but the high point was actually when Klaus hit the half point or the half court shot.
that was really good.
You
Also,
know,
like, nobody's won a car in Moda for like years.
he said it had been 94 attempts. So it was really weird. So Todd Bosma, the in-game
Yeah.
operations guy, comes out, gets on the microphone and explains it's been 90, we've had 94 attempts since anyone has made a half court shot. And I feel like I've seen more than than one in my lifetime. And it didn't, I guess it was a long time ago. I guess probably the last one that I saw is the one that I remember, which was a night that I took a bunch of people from work to the game and like everything that could possibly go right went right. They gave out free t-shirts, free like our row one like free hats. Somebody else like an entire section in the arena won Damian Lillard shoes. The like everything that could possibly go right that night went right,
Oh,
including the half court shot.
one of my friends won shoes that night.
Right.
Damian Lillard shoes.
And
Yeah.
the game, they won the game, and like the people who I had taken from work were like, "This is amazing," and I was like, "Yes," and every game is exactly like this. So by my calculations, that was probably about the last time that a half court shot was hit. And so Todd Bosman, he's like, "It's been 94," and it was so weird because I was sitting with my husband and a friend, and I was like, the way Todd's talking, it sounds like he knows this guy's gonna make it. And we were like, this guy's gonna, like, before he even stepped up, we were like, this guy's gonna make it. And so it was when he went and he made the shot, we were like, of course, like we just knew, like the whole arena, we just knew that it was going to happen. And it felt so good. And I was shocked that streamers didn't come down because of like the elation we all felt together. So that was a highlight. That for me, that was a highlight. You're looking
I
up something.
yeah, I am curious. Do you think it's possible that they hired a ringer?
I'm not going to speculate.
Is Klaus a ringer?
I don't know.
Listeners, I'm curious if you think if Klaus was a ringer because I didn't really think about the setup that way, Tara. And I was like, I wonder if anyone has ever really just done that and hired a ringer because they were like, this crowd needs something to cheer for. This miserable franchise that hasn't won hardly anything in years needs to see somebody win a car.
If they did, I thank them for it. I don't know. I know that I saw that he got interviewed by Connor from Blazers Edge, and Klaus said that he'd been driving his dad's car, so it meant a lot to him because he needed his own car. So, I don't think. I just think this guy had a lot of confidence, and maybe he's somebody who's like, makes them a lot. And so he wasn't like, sometimes you look you some those half court shot people come up and it's like, they can't even, get it
It's like
very
8 feet
close.
too
And it's like,
short.
oh, this person just kind of won it and was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll try to make the shot. But this guy like just seemed like a guy who knew exactly what he was doing. So maybe it's just like his shtick that he does with his friends. I can make half court shots. And then his number just finally got called.
Yeah. I'm very suspicious now whether they like found themselves a ringer for this because also one of the things that I didn't think about the way that Todd introduced it, but I did think about how that shot happened because he shot like 2 or 3 feet behind the actual like half court line and it was perfect.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, how often do you see guys like, a lot of times you see banks, like it'll like bank in or something, or it will like, like
Hmm.
rattle in. No,
Yep.
like this was like it was like 2 or 3 steps behind the half court line, and it was like perfect.
Yeah.
And I was like, hmm, you do this. You practiced a lot. And I'm like, but if they announced it in that way, because I'll say I've seen people take shots before. I've never heard Todd report how many shots it's been since
Right.
we last made it.
Yep.
Maybe they went out and found themselves a ringer. To
Well, it
which
sure
I
felt
say,
good.
thank you.
And for that, if that is true for that, I thank them. My other high and low was the fact that the Blazers actually, were in it and led and fought hard and looked pretty good for a lot of that game too. And then the low was that they went for two at the end when they were down two and they went for two. I was like, are you kidding me? You're going to go for two. The last thing I want to do is sit here in overtime. We're not doing overtime this year. I am sorry. We are not doing overtime. I was already mad because the other team had made a challenge and was dragging anything out. And I'm like, we do not drag things out this year. This season, we do not drag things out. So we'd already had to sit through a couple of challenges, and then Anfernee went for two. And I was like, what are you doing? Just go for three and end this thing.
Free basketball when your team is playing like this is not the advertisement that we're
It is
looking for here.
not the prize that it is in other situations.
That's right. You know what it maybe is? Maybe it's a gift to the people who are willing to walk out of that arena early on time at the end of regulation and beat the traffic.
Hmm.
That is
Yeah.
it.
But I did feel more encouraged by that game. Like, okay, they do have like a level of um execution ability that they didn't
Mm,
have and they were lacking in the last three quarters of the first game.
yeah. I don't know. It's still just game two. I'll say like it's still just game two. So like my
Yes.
expectations are kind of low, which is why I've been trying to think of this team in terms of quarters and halves before I think about full games. Cause I'm like, what did I like in this quarter? What did I like in this half? So I was trying to say like my high point was the first half of the Pelicans game because I thought they put a whole half together that looked pretty good. And
Mhm.
then, with like the lows, I'm like, well, then this half was not so great in general. But like if I think about it in quarters and halves, I can like contain something to be like optimistic about without having to like focus on the win or the loss.
Yeah. Well, I'm totally considering perhaps just attending the first half of games and just being like,
Oh.
hey, great, it's over. Doesn't matter.
That would be
Get home
really
early.
funny if everybody goes home early if the Blues are
Yeah.
up.
I've given myself permission. I've never in the past, but I've given myself permission to leave early this year. And game one, we left like right after the fourth quarter started. I was like, no, we're done.
How does the saying go? Protect your peace.
Hmm.
Protect your peace.
Hmm. Yeah.
Protect your
Yeah.
peace. You don't need any of that. You get enough basketball for the night, you can just go home and be like, that's all I need.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you don't have to worry about, I don't know, whether there's a win or a loss at the end.
You know, it'll
You'll be sleeping.
exactly sleeping the peace of somebody who attended half of a game, got to watch some basketball, and then went home. It's not gonna, I guess it's not always going to be like this. It's not always going to be like this. And there's going to be in the future when the Blazers are good, there's going to be a lot of late nights when they go into double overtime and they take the really good teams all the way to the end. And it's like, oh my God, I'm not home until it's 11 o'clock at night. And, at that point, I'll worry about not getting enough sleep. But right now, I'm just banking it for later.
There you go. And then you can be like, it's fine. I got enough sleep in 2024
Yes.
to stay up late here in 2027.
Yeah, that 2024-2025 season is going to be really good when it comes to banking sleep.
There you go. That said, we're gonna do game three later today, and it's just game three, everybody.
Right. Yeah. And I think I mean, I don't know if it's understandable or not, but there's been a lot of dramatic reactions, which is fine because that's what we do. We're fans, we're fanatic.
That's
We
right.
overreact to everything. But to go back to protecting your peace, just remembering that there's 82 games. It's going to be a long season. The only way out is through. We just got to get through it. And we'll have some fun along the way. I'm sure that I mean, we've already had plenty of fun moments. We had a half court shot. We had
Yeah.
actually on in game two, we had Zion Williamson crashing into the paint and getting absolutely stuffed by Donovan Clingan and Jabari Walker a couple of times. And I was sitting pretty close to that, and it was a joy and a pleasure to watch Zion Williamson go crashing to the ground because he couldn't get up past Donovan Clingan.
I screamed in my house when that happened, I have to say. Just because like dude, like I don't know what happened to this. Whoever does Zion Williamson's PR does a really good job, like a little bit like deflecting against him being like I don't want to say like a bust, but like you know what I mean? There's a lot of times guys like him come into the league and there's such high expectation around him that like it doesn't matter unless he like rises to the expectation that was set for them, they are considered a bust because they are not that thing. And like he is not the thing that everybody said he was going to be, and that's fine. I'm like he's still very good, but like nobody talks about that. He hasn't even played that much. And I
Mhm.
just think that's very interesting because like look at the kind of smoke that Ayton got. And they're like, look at this guy who was drafted number one and he's not what we wanted him to be. I'm like, Zion Williamson, like I mean, he's faced a lot of criticism in his career. I'm not saying that he hasn't, but no one is out here saying that Zion Williamson is a bust.
Right. I think the thing is, though, is when Zion Williamson is healthy, he is exactly what we all thought he was going to be.
He's just like never
He's,
healthy, and he's always like there's like questions about whether he's in shape because it gets to like postseason and
Mhm.
you know how many
Yeah.
minutes can he play?
But I mean, but he doesn't step out there and we go, oh, wait a minute. He steps out there, and if he's healthy, it's like, holy Moses, this guy is a force to be reckoned with.
It kind of reminds me of the Anthony Davis thing where you're like, yeah, but like when is he in? When is like you need like a whole like website like dedicated to like is Zion Williamson healthy and playing basketball? Is Anthony Davis healthy and playing
I feel like
basketball?
he,
Because we're for a long time, like those guys were playing like Anthony Davis would play like 40 games a season.
yeah, I feel like Zion played uh a lot of games last year. I'm gonna look that up. But while we look that
Okay.
up, we should probably transition to our
Yes.
main topic for the episode.
Okay, so we talked about this just very recently. So if it doesn't work, I'm sorry, this is my idea. Um, we wanted to talk a little bit about kind of our hopes and dreams for the seasons. So we have decided to call this like manifesting. What are we manifesting this season? Because even though, like I just said, I'm thinking about this season in terms of quarters and halves and like smaller units so I can be optimistic about things. We still want to manifest things that like are good for our team long term so that we can see that way out of the rebuild. So Tara, you and I came up with lists of things that we were manifesting for individual players,
Mhm.
maybe the team, maybe the coach, like things that we are manifesting for this season because we this is things that we want to see for people. So that what at the end of the season, when we look back, we're like, sure, there was a lot of losing, but we also got to see all these little things along the way. So that said, is it okay if I start for
Yes, please
with the
do.
first thing that I'm
Yes.
manifesting?
And by the way, Zion played 70 games last season, which was a
Good for
career high.
him. Good for him.
Definitely a career
Wasn't
high.
it the year before that he like was that the year that the thing with the OnlyFans girl?
I don't know.
I think that was the thing where there was like the OnlyFans girl thing happened and then he like didn't play the whole end of the season. Um not because of that, but like that like added insult to injury to the end of that season prior. Okay. So the first thing that I'm manifesting is I want to see in one of the Spurs matchups this season, I want to see Donovan Clingan dominate Wemby. For
Ooh.
one game. One game. I don't care if I don't, whatever. One game. I want to see him dominate Wemby because I want there to be this thing for us to look forward to, and that yes, we made the right pick because if we are preparing for an NBA where Wemby is going to be like the absolute ceiling of fives across the league,
Mhm.
I want the Blazers to feel like they made the right pick to do the thing that they like I feel like they drafted him for. So
Mhm.
I want to see Klingon dominate Wemby in one game.
I love it. I am here for that. I would love to. I think that would be great if that happens. Um yeah, I think the Blazers everybody needs to have at least one person who can slow Wemby down.
Hmm.
I don't know who's going to be able to stop him, but everybody needs to have somebody who can at least slow him down. And I think Donovan Clingan is a really good has really good potential to be able to do that. I'll go with the thing I'm manifesting for Donovan is backwards dunks a la Mason Plumlee.
A Mason Plumlee backwards dunk?
Yes, Mason Plumlee backwards dunks. And I loved that about him. And the during one of the games this week, Donovan Clingan had a backwards layup, and I was like, "Oh,
Ooh.
oh, how about this?" Because I one of the things that I think I don't know, I can't tell if it's a good thing or if it's a challenge for him, but he does like spin around a lot, and maybe that's because he has, he's not a back just like a back to the basket guy, and he's not, he just ends up in all kinds of different places, but he always seems to kind of know where the hoop is. So I think it would be really fun if he developed a backwards dunk because we need more backwards dunkers.
I love it. The Plum Dog special. We can
Yeah.
call that the backwards dunk. All right. Donovan Clingan, you have your assignments. Dominate Wemby and develop a backwards dunk.
While we're talking about uh big men, can I go to Ayton?
Yeah.
So I think that I would like to manifest for DeAndre Ayton a big man coach. Now I didn't necessarily manifest a coach for Donovan. I think that that Ayton is still young and he is still a developing he's still developing who he could be. And I think I don't know if the Blazers have a big man coach anymore. We talked before we got on the air, remembering Kim Hughes, who was a former a big man coach who it seemed like really was pretty successful with helping big men develop their unique skill sets and being able to like optimize who they are, especially like, in their size. But I have a very specific big man coach that I would want for him. I want Greg Oden as a big man coach.
Oh, that's interesting.
I have been following Greg Oden's post NBA career, and he started off after his career. He wanted to go back and finish his degree at the Ohio State, and he started off as the manager for the team. And he steadily has worked his way up through all of the different coaching levels and ranks to get to, I think he's now an assistant for he's a butler as an assistant under Mata.
Hmm.
He's assisted under really good college coaches. And I just love a guy who's going through all the steps. He's not making any shortcuts to become a coach. And I think one number one pick, another number one pick, they understand the expectations. And I just think Oden could just be so good to help DeAndre Ayton get fully realized as a center in the NBA. So that's what I'm manifesting.
That's such an interesting thing to manifest. I'm like down with it also because I think that there is when I've heard Greg Oden talk about his time in the NBA, like there's a little bit of sadness because he talks about himself like he's a bust. And I don't think when I think about a guy like him, I'm like, well, like he was never healthy. Like we never had a chance to see
Yeah.
whether how good he could be when he was well. And so it would be a little bit of like redemption for him to come back to this franchise and do something that led to success.
Yeah, he talks about his post NBA life a lot. Like I've noticed that he's been on every couple months he'll be on a podcast and he'll go pretty deep and intensely into his personal journey and all
Hmm.
of the different ways that he grew from going through somebody who went through what he went for the NBA and basically starting over and rebuilding himself. And I just think that he just has so much interesting perspective as well as he was so good. He
Yeah.
was so good at what he did. He was so good. So like people can, even though, he was injured, people still respect what he was able to do on the court when he was able to do it. So anyway, I don't want to go too long about that, but that's actually like a real dream of mine.
Greg Oden is the one of the reasons why I was like making my peace with rooting for Minnesota last year because I was like, he would love to see Mike Conley win a ring. Because like he and
Yes.
Mike Conley like were, like this
Hmm.
for like their whole youth and they came to the league together. And if Greg Oden can't have the career that he wanted here, and I'm sure he would love to see Mike Conley win a ring. Also, Mike Conley's just like one of the nicest guys in basketball.
Hmm.
Just, I made my peace that Minnesota is probably going to win a ring and they're going to win with a bunch of players that I don't like. And I feel like they did Cat dirty now, but still, they're still one of the best teams in the West. So, okay. You manifested for Ayton, a big man coach. You know what I want to manifest for Ayton? I want to manifest a very good, clear role for him here that isn't necessarily starting.
Mm.
Because I actually don't think that Aiton is somebody who is like, I need to start and has a lot of ego about that. I think he wants to be an important contributor. And like, I, I don't know, like, I don't know if I think that his future is to be like the starting big man, but I could see him being a really important backup big man on a really good team who has a big role as a backup.
On a
I don't know.
different team, or do you know?
Well,
Is it that's not
I
important?
would love for him to do that here, but
Yeah.
I don't know if we have like that kind of role available. Like,
Hmm.
but I think that he could play into that role this year and like work toward that and in this way that is like suits his skill set because he like he wants to he I was watching him play like he wants to shoot. He doesn't want to play as close to the hoop as a lot of guys his size. He wants like some room. He wants to play more like a power forward in a lot of ways and like I don't know. Like I'll just say I don't know if his fate's to be a starting big man in the NBA and I don't think that means that he's bad. I just think that it means that like I don't know. That would be a more suitable thing for him and he would not take that as a failure like some NBA players might.
Yeah, that's it. So you're manifesting a clear and important role as a backup big
Yeah.
in a contending
On a
team.
yeah, exactly. Like, because imagine if you brought him off the bench.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He would wreak havoc.
Yeah. And like there are plenty of teams out there that have an important role for like a backup big man that does a lot.
Hmm.
But normally they're like Mason Plumlees, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like he just
I'm
doesn't
not
want to be a
sure
rim
I'm ready to
protector.
relegate him to the bench yet,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
in the
I don't
future.
not on this team exactly, but like
Yeah.
if Donovan Clingan like looks as good as he does and like, starts to build momentum towards being the
Hmm.
starter in the future, like I don't think that that doesn't necessarily means that Ayton is
Hmm.
one bad or a failure here, and
Hmm.
two can't play an important role. Like also like centers like play like, they don't play nearly as many minutes as some of these other guys. Like the second big is still gets a pretty big meaningful role.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I don't know.
Well,
It
with
just it's just something I've been thinking about because I'm just like, I just don't see you as like the starter on our team. And there's a lot of like ways in which it's hard for me to see you as a starter on another team because the starter typically is playing with very gifted offensive players
hmm.
and they need you to rim protect. And that
Hmm.
just doesn't feel like what he's here to do.
Well, so I'll tell you, I've been thinking about this in the terms of in the context of like Dan and I used to talk about the Noah Vonleh minutes.
Mm-hmm.
When Noah Vonleh would start 6 minutes, he plays 6 minutes at the beginning of the first, and then he'd play 6 minutes at the beginning of the third. And like that was like to help I think it was to like try to rapidly develop him alongside like the best players. Like put him in with the best players and see how he does. So I've been thinking that in terms of what if Donovan Clingan got Noah Vonleh minutes? And he
Mm.
got to start and he played 6 minutes with, the best lineup. And then Deandre Ayton comes in and, plays the bulk of the minutes because he's still at this point, a better center than he
Yes.
is. So I have been thinking about that in those kinds of terms. So yeah, totally could be something that might happen.
This is also the kind of team where like a guy like who comes off the bench might actually be the better player too, because this is like a team focused on
Yeah.
developing new and young guys. And there are guys whose like kind of blueprint isn't really like defined yet.
Yeah.
So like, you might start guys for like, short minutes and then bring in like a seasoned backup that actually is the better player that plays more minutes but
Yeah.
doesn't start kind of a thing.
Yeah. And I will say that the lineups that I've enjoyed most are the ones with the younger developing players. Those are the ones that are the most fun to me, like with Murray and uh Deni and or Murray and Donovan and um Toumani.
Hmm.
Those are like fun. Okay, so we talked about Aiton, we talked about Donovan. Should we talk about Toumani?
Yeah, we can talk about Toumani.
What are you manifesting for Toumani?
I'm manifesting that 3-point shot to make a leap for
Hmm.
him. I think that that's the one. That's the shot. That's like he has all the other tools that we've been trying to look for in a player like him. If he gets that like that makes that leap with that 3-point shot, I think that like he's a starter. Like that's
Hmm.
that's that's your that might be your future guy right there. But it's just like I don't even see him looking for it as much as like he could be. Like sometimes I see it and him get that ball and he's like he wants to drive.
Hmm.
Like he will evaluate whether he can drive before he pulls up to make that shot. And I want him to look for that shot first. I want him to have the confidence to look for that shot first before he decides whether he can drive. Like I don't know. That's like something that I've noticed of him, and it may even work itself out very quickly. I don't know. Maybe this is just, he hasn't started like he's doing now. Like I think that there were times where he started last season, but it wasn't like this consistent thing. Um, and I don't know. I would just like to see him like look for that shot and want that shot because he has confidence in that shot rather than always be cutting into the basket.
Well, mine is totally related to yours
Oh,
because
good.
mine is a consistent spot in the starting lineup. last year he did start. He worked,
Yeah, yeah.
he was so good that they were like, we got to put Toumani in the starting lineup. And then after a while, he wasn't able to maintain what they needed out of a starter at that
Hmm.
time. And for whatever reason, he dropped out of it. And so what I'm hoping for is that whatever that last thing is that clicks into place, which very well could be that 3-point shot, is that I just want to manifest a consistent role in the starting lineup where he's, you always got to be watching behind your back for the other guys who are like constantly improving, but for him
Hmm.
to be so solid that he knows that like it's his.
He's nasty on defense.
Did you
Like
see
he's
him and CJ kind of jawing at each other?
yeah, it
That
was
was fun.
fun. I also love that I like that he talks trash. We
Hmm.
don't have necessarily a very trash talking team right now. And so like I need somebody to like hold that mantle of trash talk. Who's going to
Hmm.
talk trash? CJ's gone. CJ
Yeah.
used to be our trash talker. Now we need a new one.
I also the folks that I was sitting with, I was sitting up in 317 with the third bench on opening night, and there was kind of amongst the people who I was sitting with an agreement that the light and the heart really went out of the team after Toumani got pulled for almost getting in a fight with Draymond Green. And it
Mm,
was like he came out and he just wasn't this he and the whole team just didn't have the fight that they played with that the first quarter. And it was like, did Toumani get like yelled at for going at it with Draymond or whatever? I mean, it was like total conjecture, but
mm.
he was somebody who just came out on fire and then it just kind of like threw a blanket over it and he just kind of played the rest of the game.
Yeah, maybe he's somebody who like who has to be unemotional when he plays, and it's hard for him to play when he's emotional. Those are guys.
Yeah.
Westbrook is that guy. Westbrook gets too emotional, it's like I know that I'm about to witness a train wreck. Some players play better when they're emotional. Some players play worse.
Hmm. Who should we do next?
Um,
How about Anfernee?
yeah, let's do Ant. Do you have one for Ant?
Okay. Here's my manifesting what I want to manifest for Anthony. A role on a team that appreciates his contributions to winning.
I see what you did there.
I want him to play for a team that is winning, that he can contribute to winning.
Yeah, I get it.
It's not that I don't like having him on the team, and I think they need him on the team right now. They need,
Yeah,
until Scoot moves, ahead in his development, they need Anthony as the primary ball handler.
yeah,
But I really, by the end of the season, I just want to see, and maybe something happens and it's our team. I don't know,
yeah.
but I want him playing for a team that appreciates his contributions to winning.
That one's good. Mine is not that deep. So related to the take the thing I just said about Tumani being a trash talker, I am manifesting that Ant learns to talk some trash. And here is why. I don't know that it's ever going to happen, but did you see the post about Brandon Ingram's
Yes,
shot about Ant that involved Ant?
yes. You
Blazers
should
Twitter,
probably describe it.
if you're listening, go look it up. I don't even want to say it because it's so mean, but all you really need to know is that Brandon Ingram and Anfernee Simons both have children with the same mom. And this was a hater post by one of those like hater accounts about Brandon Ingram hitting that shot over Ant. And here's the thing. Ant is nice. He's so nice and he's sweet and he's kind of quiet. But I do think that as the like best player on this team right now, it's appropriate for him to talk some trash. Doesn't always have to talk trash, but situational trash can be important, and it also gives the rest of your team permission to talk some trash as well. I would like Ant, I'm manifesting for Ant to learn to talk a little bit of situational trash that helps his team. That's what I'm manifesting.
From your mouth to God's ears. That's all I
Because
could say on that one.
I saw that and I was like, and we play them again. We play them again today.
Mhm.
I'm like, I were Ant, I would dig deep inside of myself and find some trash to talk if I play well against this team.
I'm trying to imagine what Ant trash talk would sound like.
Oh my God. I once read an article about Ant trying to learn to talk trash. It was like during the pandemic, and I forget who wrote the article, but it was like an article about him like working out and like being challenged to talk trash every time he like scored. And it was so meager. He was just like supposed it was like the article basically said that like after he like would make a basket, he just said bucket.
Bucket with a
Yeah,
B. Bucket
yeah,
with a B.
bucket. Like, oh, like that's just him talking trash. Like, I scored.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, sweet summer child. You have so far to go in terms of talking some trash.
Lots of opportunity there for Anfernee to develop into a trash talker.
Yeah. So I'm manifesting trash talk from our
Let's put
best
that out
player.
into the universe for him.
Yes, please.
I want to go to another player who could potentially be the best player on the team, and that's Jerami. Jerami Grant, I forgot about your game because I haven't seen you
Welcome, Tara.
play I haven't seen him play in so long because he so frequently plays so few games because he's
Yeah.
sat by the half of the, by March
Yeah.
or April. But he came out both nights like hitting threes everywhere, being aggressive on defense. I think he even got some rebounds.
Oh,
And
yes, he did.
I was just like, Jerami Grant, like what I am manifesting for him is that I spend this year talking about Jerami Grant's play rather than his fashion.
Oh.
And that Jerami Grant's conversations about Jerami Grant this year are about his play and
Well,
not
can we
about his
still talk
style.
about his fashion?
Yes, but I think I want the most interesting thing to be about him is what's on the court.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. Jeremy, I mean, he looks like he's locked in. And that's actually one of the great things
Yeah.
to me about certain guys. Like that's like a pro. Like he's been on this team for like years now. He came here and then the context for which he chose to come here immediately evaporated. And then he still re-signed here. I mean, granted, he re-signed here because it was like a huge bag that he was finally going to get after all these years of like bouncing around from place to place. And but I appreciate one that that offer didn't disappear from our management when it was clear that Damian was going to be moving on, and that two that Jerami was still interested in staying here. And look at him, a pro's pro, just shows up every year, ready to play basketball and play his part. And I'll say one of the things I did see in that Pelicans game, game two, I saw Jerami wanting to win. Like
Mhm.
he looked like he wanted to win. And I was like, oh,
Yeah. I want people on the East Coast to say, what is Jerami Grant doing out there? Like, what did I just see when I woke up and was looking at the newspaper and eating my cereal? What did I just see in Jerami Grant's stat line? I know that sounds like I'm 80 years old, but I want people on the East Coast to be going, what's got into Jerami Grant this season? And because he can do it, but it's been so much a part of our whole dialogue about him around here. Like, oh, he's just so chill. He's happy in Portland. Look how stylish and fashionable he is. And like, yeah, he can shoot threes. So I'm ready to see like the full basketball player of him. And if he's doing it because he wants a chance to get traded to another team, that's fine. I forgot how like fun it is to watch him play basketball, and I don't want to forget that. And I want his play to make me not be able to forget that.
I love that for him. I
But
love
you're
that for you
manifesting for
too.
him.
Uh I mean, so this is the thing about Jeremy is like you're right. He and Ant are like probably the two best players. It's hard to say who's the best. I mean, Jeremy, it's easy to think about Ant as the best because Ant always has the ball every possession when he's in. He always touches the ball. Jeremy doesn't always touch the ball. Um, but one of the things that I would want to manifest for Jeremy is like his leadership voice. I think that regardless of who the best player is, and we can argue about that at a different time where I don't care, but he is one of the leaders of this team. And he's also very quiet, like Ant, but I don't think it means that you can't be a leader. And I also don't think that it means that he has nothing to say for young guys, I guess. Like Malcolm Brogdon was like, he's an extrovert. You could see him like running for office and advocating for water. And here I am. This is the kind of leader that I am. But like in the absence of a Malcolm Brogdon who has taken his khakis to greener pastures, like we have Jerami Grant, who is at this point like late mid or mid late career, has been around, played a lot of basketball, is very good. And I think that some of these guys would listen to what Jerami Grant has to say. And that calming Zen thing is something, quite frankly, that I would like for Scoot. Like, I think that, like, when I look at Scoot, I see a guy with some anxious energy, some nervous energy. And I think that Jeremy's, like, his veteran role here might be to be a gentle leader. And we haven't seen it. And maybe it's already present and I don't know. That's totally valid if that's what's happening. I don't know. But that's what I would like to see emerge in a more visible way so that I could appreciate it, is how he leads, even if it's like more quietly and gently than some of the other like NBA leaders out there.
Yeah, I love what you said about how he can help that with Scoot. Because like for, with his first post-game interview, Jeremy talked a lot about Scoot.
Hmm.
And so maybe they are spending that time together and yeah, I love that. Just finding his leadership style and methodology in a way that especially is useful to our young point guard.
Yeah, that's right. And can I do you mind if we go to Scoot next?
No,
Because
that's perfect. That's
because
makes sense.
what I want to manifest about Scoot is very related to
Yeah, go
that.
for it.
What I want to manifest for Scoot is for the offensive side of the game to slow down for him. I see that like anxious energy from him, and I want that part to slow down. Because earlier, I think a couple weeks ago, I said something about how like, oh, I'm like sad that I can't really tell what his shot is.
Hmm.
And I was like, but maybe it's because, um, he's nervous because there's a lot to know, there's a lot to think about when you're the point guard, right? Like it's not this, if you have the ball in your hands and you're supposed to like execute, it's not the same role as one of the guys who has to like execute without the ball in his hands, because nobody's looking at them, but people aren't looking at you the same way. I want for Scoot to slow down on offense and to see it easier and better. And then I will decide whether I really think I don't know what his shot is. Because I think right now I'm watching a nervous guy shoot. And who knows, like maybe he already has a beautiful, gorgeous shot that we don't get to see very much because he's so anxious out there trying to remember, like, or try to read the defense or trying to know exactly where someone's going to be at the end of this play or whatever. Like, what's his second option? What's his third option? Like, there's so many things to keep track of. I can appreciate that that is very hard to do and learn how to do. And I want that side of the ball for him to slow down, because I will say he already looks quite good on defense. When they let him play like one on one, he has like flashes of great defense to me. And Sage was right. Sage was like, look at that, like just watch Scoot on D. And so that's what I have done. And Scoot looks like far more comfortable being reactive to what somebody else does than when he has to be the first decision maker and somebody's going to react to him.
Oh, that's such an excellent point and observation. I love that. And when you think about somebody like Scoot, who is naturally incredibly fast, like he's just naturally fast, and I wonder if it's a lot harder to slow down when you're that fast. You know what I
Totally.
mean? He's not somebody who has to try to speed up and get faster. He needs to actually try to slow down so he can process everything. I
Yeah.
think
And
that's
also,
great points and observations.
like he's probably knows like this is my weapon. Like I use speed. That's my weapon, but like you use it like tactically, you know?
Judiciously, yeah,
Yeah, you
tactically.
need you need to have like a tactic behind using your speed. It can't just be speed, speed, speed all the time. And like, he needs to learn the value of the off-speed pitch, so to
Hmm.
speak. Like he needs to learn how to like slow it down and then go. Like that was one of the things that I loved watching Dame develop, is that he learned to slow play down in the first couple of years and then just go like a bullet out of a gun. And that's what made his speed so sneaky, was that like he would be playing at a totally leisurely pace, and then all of a sudden it would just be like go time.
Yeah. I wonder how that fits in with because I personally don't want another 10 years of ISO half court offense.
Please no.
So Scoot's slowing down is hopefully like the game slowing down and
Yeah,
him being
yes.
able to keep up with it. It's more like him being able to keep up with the speed of the game. Um, because yeah, I don't want him. I don't think that's what you were saying either. So we want
No.
to Scoot to go into isolation. We just want him to be able to control all of that speed that is pent up in him because it is there.
Yeah, and use it intentionally.
Yeah.
Use like a slower pace of game intentionally, use the speed of his game intentionally, and like for that to not be an overwhelming experience.
hmm I love it. I love it. And that was such a great observation. And mine kind of goes along with it in
Mm.
that it certainly doesn't contradict it. And it has to do kind of with the offense. And that is with Scoot, I want to manifest for him eyes in the back of his head because I feel like when he gets tripped up, it's because he's focused on what's ahead of him and not what's behind him. And it's what comes behind him that will, force turnovers, will force poor decisions.
Mm.
And it's just like, I just want him to have more awareness of what's going on, behind his head. But again, it's got to be so hard to like keep track of everything and keep all of that in your head. So while he's learning how to do that all naturally, I would like to gift him with some eyes in the back of his head so he can have that help.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get that. Like for that's like part of I think seeing the entire court, you know? And like that's not that's I'll say that's hard.
Well, and when you see guys who are have more years under their belt, more experience, or just are more talented in just like making like that pass that Luca had the other night over Wemby's head, like that he didn't even see. I mean, like the no look passes and stuff, and like think of
Mm,
all of the Jokic no look passes we see. They're able to make them because they have eyes in the back of their head. I mean,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it is they know in their head where everybody on the court is, whether or not their eyes are facing that way or not.
Yeah, that's right. That court awareness is like so it I mean, I don't even know how pros do it to be honest. Like I know that like a lot of guys can do it, but also I'm like, dang, like because the game is so fast moving and you just know where the guys are even if you can't see them or you just trust that they're there. I
Mhm,
mean, I know that they do a lot of communicating that like we can't necessarily hear, like identifying back screens and stuff like that, but like still it's pretty amazing like the kinds of court awareness that these guys can have in a game that's moving so quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of breathtaking. Who should we do next? I'm kind of running out of people that I have in-depth ones. I'm kind of getting into the speed round now.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about this one with you because I wanted to explain it just like a tiny bit. And one of the things that I want to manifest for Deni Avdija is increasing his assists per game. Because and this is the key reason why is because he was on a bad team last year. So last year he averaged 3.8 assists per game and he was on the Washington Wizards, which was a very bad team. It would do a world of good for me to see that number go up because I think he's going to get just as much opportunity here as he did in Washington. And I would like to think that we are on a good trajectory to increase that by way of making more shots. And it would make me feel good that by the end of the season, he'd increase his assists per game because it would make me feel like maybe this team is putting something together in terms of like building on those fundamental skills. Because I think Deni Avdija is a pretty good passer. But he's the only guy on this team where I'm like, you were differently bad last year. You were on a differently bad team last year. I want to see growth on this team. And this is a way where I'm going to try and measure that because like assists are like it's about being a good passer, but it's also about your team finishing. And so if he increases that, I will feel good that like some other good things are happening just by way of that assist number getting bigger.
Okay, well, let's hope a lot of those assists are to Jerami Grant.
Yes, please. Or to other players who Toumani who figures out how to like look for that three and just take it.
Well, also mine kind of again dovetails with yours because I specifically am looking for more outlet passes from Denny. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be more assists in the course of just like a set offense. If he
Mm,
gets more assists, because he does seem really good and hyper aware in transition. And
hmm
so if he can lob it out to somebody who, is on the run, that could be a way that he could also get more assists that doesn't necessarily rely on our team being good shooters.
That's also fair. Yeah, his aggression in transition, I think, is a breath of fresh air in some ways
Yeah.
because like we have not always been that team.
Yeah, yeah. And he kind of sometimes goes a little fast in terms of just like kind of like ending up just sort of crashing on the floor. I've noticed he spent a lot of time on the floor in the first couple of games, but his heart's into it. So, maybe
He's taking
we'll
contact. He's not
Yep.
afraid to taking contact.
Yeah, yeah, and he's big. He's a big dude. So yeah, I think our manifestations for Denny go together really nicely.
Yeah. Okay, who else do I have? We did like kind of the main guys that I was
Yeah.
thinking of. Oh, I have a manifestation for Jabari Walker. Jabari, I hope Jabari gets into jewelry this year. He really showcased his like his glasses like last year. He
Yeah.
started like building into like the glasses realm on top of his like fashion, but I also would like to see him get into jewelry. I think that like Jabari, because he also has like great hair, like
Mhm.
he like jewelry just would pop around him, and I would just like to see him, even if it's just a few pieces, a few like statement pieces that just pull it all together. I want to see Jabari get into jewelry. That obviously has nothing to do with basketball, but you know.
I know we're
Per-
delving into the ones for me that don't have anything to do with basketball. And I think
Mm.
that's a perfectly good one. And I still want Jabari to have a City Edition jersey page on the Rip City Clothing Company website.
Yes, please.
Still doesn't have them. Okay. Another one. Well, so Kris Murray, this the way it come is gonna initially come out doesn't sound very nice, but let me explain. For Kris, I want an identity. And what I mean by like Kris is so obviously tied up in comparisons with Keegan, his brother in Sacramento, that
Yeah.
I just want to know like what Kris does and what we rely on Kris to do and who he is on that team. I thought he was played really well, what I've seen in the first couple of games. He's got more time than I was expecting. And so like I think it's possible that, he could be fighting for minutes. So I just want to have an idea like, oh, when Kris Murray comes in, here's what's happening.
Mm. Yeah. Mine was not very basketball related for Kris Murray.
It's okay.
Sorry. I wanted Kris Murray to decide that he was going to share more about his dogs on social.
I
That's
have a
that's
couple
that's
dog manifestations myself.
that's my dog. That's my Kris Murray manifestation is related to his two dogs, who are named Rosie and something else. But they're both golden retrievers, and I have a golden retriever, so I'm heavily invested in seeing his dogs. We are both left-handed golden retriever owners,
You're practically related.
practically.
Well, speaking of pet ones, I wanted to manifest for Matisse a pet with an Instagram account. I think we could have great Instagram. Like maybe Matisse himself doesn't feel like being on Instagram, but if he got like a dog or a lizard or a couple of cats, I think we could have a lot of fun. He is a filmmaker, so why not, get a couple of pets and start telling their stories?
What kind of pet do you think he would have? What kind of a like, what do you think is like he feels kind of cat like a cat person to me,
Yeah.
but also I can't imagine him with a cat.
I can imagine him with like a really big cat, like that he
Mm,
adopts, from the Humane Society or something, and him just like finding like, a really giant cat that, like doesn't have a tail that's had like, a life, and he's just gonna make a happy, safe space for them and take pictures of them and share it on Instagram.
okay. For Matisse, you know what I am manifesting, and this is a little bit self-serving. I am manifesting him making Portland like home.
Hmm.
That's what I'm
I
manifesting for
could
Matisse
see
because
that.
I was like thinking about it. I was like, who is like the last player that we had here that really like felt like they were super like Portland people. Like Robin Lopez is one of those players that just ended up feeling really like Pacific Northwest, you know?
Hmm.
And he was West Coast. And then I was like, Matisse is also really Pacific Northwest. I mean, he's from Seattle, and I think his family's in Arizona now, but like he like this is his vibe. Like his like when he like walks up, like his like walk up outfit and those like kind of like high water pants and like chucks, and I'm like, dude, you like look like you just walked in right off the street. I'm
Hmm.
surprised that nobody's asked you for ID when you walk in. You're lucky people remember your face because you just look like a guy that's just chilling in Portland. So
Yeah.
I'm manifesting Matisse making Portland home because I think we would love him here long term, even if he wasn't a player here in the future. And I feel like his vibe is like just right for us
I
and
think,
him.
yeah, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I have two players whose main manifestation for me is just health and playing time, and it's Shaedon and Rob Williams. I mean, I
Same.
can't think of anything else I want for them.
Same. And I can't I feels completely unfair to manifest anything else for them, right?
Hmm.
Like I'm like this is obviously like 1A and 1B is like stay healthy, play more basketball than you did last season.
Yeah,
That's supposed like my manifestation for both of those.
yeah,
Stay healthy, get and stay healthy, and then play more basketball than you did last season. And like I've honestly, it's that for them for the next like several years, quite frankly, because they just
yeah.
haven't been on the court in forever.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I did have like a 1B for Shaden would be to get a dog, but maybe he already has a dog.
that's true.
But
He's so
again, that
private, he
that
would
was
know,
selfish, like, dog content.
right? We're here for pets. We're trying to bring back MV Pet.
Right. They got to help us out. If you're
Yes,
listening, Blazers, if you get in pets, please let us know on Instagram so that we can track this. Okay. Actually, Rayon, I had a specific sort of basketball related thing. I handle. Like I would love for him to like continue to work on his handle. He is, a slasher. He's an athletic guy. He's also hopefully going to be a shooter. But I'd like to see him add that a little, the ability to like, do some funky things with the ball.
that's funny because you know what my manifestation for Ryan Rupert was?
But
It was to see him get to execute plays.
mhm,
Not like a lot, but like
yeah,
some. I think that that would be like a nice tool for his bag. And
yeah,
also, it's like Nick Batum, whenever he would run plays every now and then for the Blazers, and he's like, I'm not trying to say that because he's French or whatever, and he comes from a similar region in France, that like he
yeah,
necessarily has to be like Nick Batum, but he's built a lot like Nick Batum, and a
hmm,
lot of his game is very similar.
yeah,
Some of it's different, but some of it's very similar. And I think that there's like a nice wrinkle to having a bunch of guys that can run plays. And it makes it like it's a more interesting watch.
yeah. And he does a lot of Euro steps that
Oh my
don't quite
God.
finish. And I'd
Everything's
like
a
a few
Euro
more
step.
options.
I gotta be honest, like, he'd go on Iron Chef and, cook a Euro step. Like
Yeah,
it's everything's a Euro step.
right. So I thought developing his handle might expand the horizon a little bit on there, but who am I to say what he should do? Um, WAP, I think it would be cool if the Blazers had a specific need for a stretch five and like, oh, they're putting in WAP. They're running this lineup because they're trying to do this thing.
Yeah. I would love that. I would love to see just more specific lineups in general. It's like maybe a manifestation I have for the whole team. And I'm like, this unit's coming in. I know what this unit's all about. I don't like have any idea of like whether like why some guys are coming in other than some other guy's tired. Like like I don't know, I was like to see like units that are a package that come with a certain type of game that is a little bit different than a different units game.
That could not be said better. And if I wish that I had said it because that would be my take. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to steal what you just said and I'm going to tweak it by saying a take for me is that a successful year will be if at the end of the year we understand what specific lineups are supposed to do.
That would be great. I would love that because then I would also know what to look for as a fan. I'm like, oh, I can look forward to, lots of pick and roll for this unit. I could look forward to, lots of, I don't know, lobs from this group. Like this is the
Yep.
team that wants to play hard defense and get out in transition. This is the little lineup that wants to slow it down. Like,
Right. This is the team that just needs to like, or this is a lineup where we have a 10-point lead and we just need to keep it and not go anywhere.
yeah,
Yes. Okay. So thank you for the assist for that was my take for today.
you're welcome. For WAP, this is gonna sound negative, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but WAP, despite the fact that this is only the second year on his contract, he has a 3-year contract, is not getting any younger. And I don't know any other way to say this, but I would like to manifest a trade for him to a team where he can define a meaningful role on a team. Because at this point, our timeline on our team does not really fit his career arc because he got here so old. He's like he's in his second year of his contract, but he's like age-wise should be mid-career. And so I would like him to get the opportunity to sign a second contract. And for him to sign a second contract, I think he needs to be able to show his value more so that he can be one of those smart players that they fit in and they're like, we need a guy who can do this for 12 to 15 minutes a game. And that's what he is. And then he just gets to have a longer career. So at this point, I'm willing to say goodbye to one of my favorite players right now to be like, I want you to succeed. I want you to have as long a career as you're able. And I just don't see that opportunity necessarily being here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you want that for him because you like him. And
Yes.
we want everybody to succeed, and for some people that might be going somewhere else. Same with like, Anfernee and Jerami and all these guys people have been talking about, like the big marquee move, the ones who may get, first round draft picks in return for yeah, I think, we want this because we want what's best for them, and that would be a better fit for WAP.
Yeah, he's in his late 20s. It's like hard to know what your career is going to be if it starts this late. And to be on a team like ours that's going to take time to develop, I don't know that you're going to get the chance to have a long career if you're here through the duration of this 3-year contract. So I would love for somebody to be able to see like, oh, that guy, he does this thing that we need in our second unit, and he does it really well. We need that stretch five, and he will go hard in the stretch five role for 12 to 15 minutes a game, and that is exactly what we need to contend. And
Hmm.
then, if it doesn't work out there, then the other team can be like, we need that stretch five now. Like
Hmm.
people have longer. Joe Ingles is still kicking around for like having a defined role.
Yeah, how did that happen?
I
I
don't
saw
know.
him that sitting on the bench the other night. I was like, what? Ugh, anyway, don't want to go off on that tangent. I think that's a great thing to manifest for Wapreeth. Our last number 15th player is Delano Banton. And I can't think of anything for him except for playing time or like a more solid role, but I don't know what that says about Anfernee and Scoot if Delano Banton has a more solid role.
So here's the thing about Delano Banton is the thing that I wanted to manifest for Delano Banton already happened, which was a roster spot.
Hmm.
I started this season thinking I was like, okay, I want to manifest a roster spot for Delano Banton. I think he earned it. I think he's really fun to watch. He can come in lots of different situations and shine when we need him to. Um, but he already did that thing. I don't need to manifest it already anywhere because it's already here.
Hmm.
So I guess what I would like to manifest for him sort of broadly is that we get to see the things that remind us why he earned that spot.
Okay. Okay, that's great. I love
It
that.
might be big and small minutes. I don't know how many minutes, but like I would like for us to be reminded of this is why. Some people are like, this is why he made this team. Like instead of like, anyone else, like this is why we have Delano Banton instead of some other player that it could have been. Because there are many deserving players that could end up in that last roster spot on a lot of teams. But I would like to be reminded from time to time why Delano Banton specifically is in that role.
I love that way of looking at it. And if it, so much depends on what the timeline is for Scoot, right? If,
Hmm.
Scoot shows rapid development this year, if he shows, some different trajectory, if he becomes so hot and so good that he needs more time and the team is ready to trade Anthony, then it's maybe a good thing we've got Delano Banton around. I also love those wildly tall lineups
I
because
know you
we
do.
we just have never had those before in my memory. Put
Because
Delano Banton in with everybody else who's tall and just be tall.
we've had small guards forever,
Yes.
forever. Because even before Dane was here, we kind of had small guards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It was
there's
like,
been a lot of small guards. I mean, Mighty Mouse.
that's
There's a
right.
reason that he was
That's
called.
right.
But I no, I think I love the way you look at it. Like we want to be reminded why it's Delano Banton in there, and I just it'll be interesting to see because Delano Banton is a second half of the season player because I think a lot because of where he sits in the talent pipeline, you know, when he's on a team that is not trying to win in the second half of the season, he gets lots and lots of playing time. He doesn't necessarily get a lot of playing time in the beginning time. So it'll be very interesting to see what we get to see of Delano Banton and why.
Yeah, I love that. Also, I will say, I have one kind of bonus manifestation, and my bonus manifestation is for Chauncey Billups.
Okay.
And no, it's not manifesting him a new job, like many people have been trying to manifest for years. Mine is that he looks a little bit inward in the way that he provides feedback about our team to the press after games, so that he also is more comfortable owning his own failures. Because I can't tell you how many times I see quotes from him floating around of him kind of bagging on his own team about like nobody played well, everybody was tired, nobody hit their shot. Like I would like him because there are definitely times last season where I watched him blow games for that team, where it felt like there was no other explanation besides coaching at the end of a game. And I would like for him to throw his own hat in the ring and be like, I'm going to own this one. Terry used to do it in a really nice way. Terry Stotts would do that in a really nice way from time to time. And it wasn't like self-flagellation or anything, but he was like, like he had very eloquent ways of saying when he was outcoached,
Hmm. Yeah.
or that he didn't make the adjustments that he needed to make, or the adjustments that they tried were not the right ones. Like I just feel like that is a very mature thing to do as a coach. And in Chauncey Billups's arc and growth into being a head coach, I think you also need to show your team that you can have some humility and about the way that you played that game.
That was
Anyway,
very diplomatic.
that was what I would like to manifest for Chauncey Billups in the last year of his coaching contract with the Portland Trail Blazers so far.
Very, very well stated. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the press conferences progress throughout the season.
The Carmax quote of the game or whatever.
Yeah. Well, we did it. We made it through and we even had a bonus.
That's
So
right.
I would, if people want to tell us what they want to manifest for the team, I'd love to hear what other people think.
Yes, please. What are you all manifesting? Because these are just the things that Tara and I are manifesting. And this is, I think, I wanted to get this on the record out there before the misery sets in of like losing 15 in a row or something, because I want to remember that there are still things that we can see even in the face of many losses that are positive for this team going forward, even if it doesn't translate to wins.
Hmm.
And
And
oh
we
boy,
have to hang on to that. Otherwise,
yeah.
we're not going to make it. And we have to
Yes.
make it. We have to hold on for these guys because they worked so hard their entire lives to get here. And we can't just like be like, sorry guys, we're not interested until you start winning again. So we found
Right.
some things to watch for and to hope for and to monitor.
That's right. And things to look forward to, so to speak. Even though those L's will be heavy by the time we get to early spring.
Somebody get a pet, please.
Please, and show it to us on socials. I
And be
promise
proud.
I will like it as soon as I see it. I will share it in my group chats and I'll be like, here, now you can like it too. Like, we need something.
Rose, do you have a take this week?
I do have one quick take
Okay, your last take had sparked a very great interesting discussion in our Discord. So I
about
can't
palms.
wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, about pom poms. So I can't wait to hear what you're coming up with this week. You really know how to get discussion going.
Well, this take is about so the new Blazer broadcast is like now it's on live free TV, right? Like you can just set up an antenna and get the new Blazers broadcast. But I have to say, I don't get TV that way, and I had to get an antenna and plug it in. And I remember when I tried to do this before, when I first moved into this house, I was like, I give up because antennas are hard. I just want to say that setting up an antenna for a television is a lost art that like the boomer generation really has down. I remember seeing my dad be really good at this when I was younger. And like, I don't have it. It's not in me. You know what I tried to do? I was like, can I still use my League Pass and my VPN and still get the games like I used to. And I was like trying to use technology to solve my problems. And at the end of the day, the skill that I really need is to just be able to set up an antenna. And I fear that I do not have the skills of previous generations. So
Well, in
that's my
your
take.
defense, you do live in a hill in the hilly locations.
Yeah, I do. It's true. The hilly locations are especially hard. Um, but that's no excuse. I also just like, how I don't have the touch. I don't know what it is, but some people have the touch and I don't have it. I know my dad has it. I'm sure my mom has it. I'm sure many other people have it. I just do not have it. And I'm like, if I can solve it with VPN, then great. If it's an actual physical antenna, F my life.
Were you able to get it set up so you could watch the games over the air?
Remains to be seen.
Oh man, I have mine set up and it is crystal clear.
Is it so good?
It's so good. I forgot like how, and it's like not on delay. It's
Oh, yeah,
so
that's right.
Remember when
That's
you
the thing
used to
about
be able to sync?
streaming.
I'm gonna the next time I'm able to stay home and watch a game, I'm gonna sync it to the radio. Because remember back in the day when you could actually sync the game to the radio, and you could listen to Sean's and watch the game. It was so great, and you've not been able to do that since streaming services became the thing. So I'm gonna test and see if we can do that again, because that would be my dream come true. Because I love listening to the radio. I like love it. I sometimes just
Yeah.
go driving around in my car so I can listen to a game longer than having to go back in and watch it on TV. Not that I don't like the people who cover it on TV. I just happen to love radio. And to be able to sync those two together, that would be amazing.
Yeah, and I kind of missed that. That was actually the greatest part about like was like basically like live tweeting certain events was that everybody was getting it at the exact same time. So it wasn't like seeing somebody freaking out on Twitter and then 3 minutes later you see the thing and you're like, oh, because I'm on DirecTV and DirecTV is like way behind what's actually happening in the arena. Oh, I will experiment with such things just to see what I can rig up. But it's nice to know that at least in our group chat, when we text, if we're all watching on TV, we all are getting the exact same experience and seeing the exact same thing at the exact same time.
Yes, yes, it
Pure
is.
magic.
Well, we made it. We made it through
Yes.
it. Week one of the season. Games one and two. Game three is about ready to tip off later today, and there's another one on Monday. So they're going to start coming fast and furious. And before we know it, there's going to be in-season tournament games, or I'm sorry, NBA Cup games, which we know are the most important ones all season.
That's
So
right.
hopefully the Blazers will have everything sorted out by the time they play their first in-season game. Um, yeah. So here we go. We're in it now.
Bring it on.
And I already gave my take. So I think let's just sign off. You can find me at TCB Bigs on Twitter and on Threads. I'm experimenting now with saying things on Twitter and on Threads to see if the things on Threads catch on like they used to on Twitter. God, the engagement on Twitter these days is down so far. So I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm doing my best. And we're not there at the same level of um
That's right.
engagement yet, but if I didn't try, then, I couldn't have anything to complain about. So that's where you can find me, and you can find the podcast at We Have a Take on Twitter. Rose, you want to tell people where they can find you and take us out of here?
Yeah, you can find me at Roselle Harding on Twitter, on Instagram. You can find me in the We Have a Take Discord. And you cannot find me on Thread, so sorry. Um, but Tara's holding it down over there for us.
Trying.
Um, happy Sunday to everybody. We're recording this on Sunday, October 27th. Enjoy the game later today and go Blazers.
Go Blazers.